Episode 1 of the 98 podcast. We've got myself, Kev Toonan, Chris Feather, and our first guest, Trent Robinson. How are you, mate?
Good. Excited to be here.
Yeah.
First one.
It is. We tried for Andrew Curry, but he couldn't make it, so we got you in.
Jeez, he got in early.
He did, yeah. We talked about this podcast in 2015, so it was the first one we wanted. Mate, thanks a lot for taking some time out with your schedule. I know you've got, what do we call it, pre-season now?
Pre-season.
Yeah.
Getting the work done in the shadows.
Yeah. Can you stay in the shadows? Is that possible? You seem to get picked on a bit.
Yeah.
You did last year.
Coaches get picked on, but in a good way.
Do you want to quickly, so people know who you are, if they've not, there are going to be people out there listening that maybe in other countries that don't know what you do. You tell them quickly who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so coach of the Sydney Roosters, which is a rugby league team in Sydney. National Rugby League sort of competition. So there's two big competitions in rugby league. There's the National Rugby League in Australia and New Zealand, and there's the Super League in England and France. So had the chance to coach in both those countries, or both those competitions. But yeah, sort of an average player who came through and couldn't quite crack it at the top level, but then quickly moved into coaching at sort of 28. Moved into coaching in France. Was my first gig in Toulouse.
You're one of the youngest coaches?
Yeah. I think now I think I still am now.
Yeah.
But definitely when I started, it was. I was really lucky with I had a guy called Brian Smith who was quite a different coach, quite a thinking coach, who often picked up young guys from nowhere. He didn't want to see years and years of pedigree. He wanted to sort of take a punt, and he usually saw something. So he gave me a chance when I was 29 to sort of get into the NRL sort of coaching sphere at Newcastle, and and I had sort of 4 years under Smithy's University of Footy, which is really important for me. And but then started head coaching at Catalans at 33, and then at Roosters at 35. So pretty young, but also felt like I was ready, but still improving.
Yeah. And how long have you been at the Roosters for now?
So this is going into my 7th season.
Yeah.
So I've had 6 full seasons and about to go into my 7th. So feels short and feels long all in one. So it feels like feels like home. Feels like I've been there for a while, but then also feels fresh. So it feels it's a good way to be, I think.
With the Roosters, you won the grand final last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to go into that was a tough year from an outside looking in, just due to like some of the players you recruited and then the expectations that everyone else had on you. I mean, regardless of what expectations you had on the team, what's it like having constant attention?
That's, I guess, the beauty of going into it at a young age. You sort of learn that, and after, what was that, sort of 7, 8 years of head coaching, sort of developing your systems around, you have to think for yourself. If you worry too much, if anybody says they don't worry about what people think, I think they're a robot. But you have to. Everyone concerns me. If you want to be a human being and live in a community, you're going to care what people think about you. But then also to do the coaching well and for a long period of time, you have to care, but not care enough where it's going to change your mind about what decisions you make.
Yeah.
And that's, I had that on at a pretty young age, but I still had to reinforce that over a period of time. And that, I think that's one of the things I do quite well. I care what people think.
Yeah.
But I won't change my mind on what I'm going to do based on that. So obviously last year we made quite a big call on. We had James Tedesco, which I think, in my view, became the best player in the world last year through all different facets of State of Origin Premiership, Australia, all of that, and then and he flew under the radar because we ended up getting Cooper Cronk in, and there's a lot of scrutiny that comes with the Sydney Roosters, so it's a high-profile club, and you understand the responsibility that goes with that. But then when we made that decision, everybody had an opinion, and most people saw it as a negative towards us. Not Cooper, definitely not Cooper, but how could we do that to Mitchell? Great player, great service to our club. So therefore, we went into that season under whatever you want to call pressure. Pressure's good. If pressure does a lot of good things. So, but there was a lot of pressure on in early in that season, and a lot of people had their opinion on my role and the role of the way that we were playing and how we were going every week. And so that was a really good year. I really enjoyed last year in the fact of that put under scrutiny that philosophy of, are you going to listen or are you going to continue on the path that you think's going to get a result? So it was really rewarding, tough, but rewarding at the same time.
Now there was a part through last year where you guys had to, as coaches, I guess, just to stop and had to relook at your game plan. I know we spoke about it last year. Was that, you think it was a pivotal moment? And then can you sort of take us through what happened leading up to that, and then how long you had to change, I guess, the idea and the game?
Yeah, it was. I'm almost certain it was the St George. It was the Anzac Day game. I think it was round 8, could have been round 9, but it just wasn't gelling. And the players they were rock solid. They were doing everything we asked, but we were on the wrong course. We felt simple things like there's structure and system in the way that you attack in rugby league. A system-based approach, which is getting to areas on the field, but then making choice on left or right. And then there's structure, which is get to a certain point to play a certain play every single time. And we were playing a bit more structured. That's what we thought we were. Where for 5 years we were a system-based team. So we moved back to that, and we had to move back to that. But we went for 8 weeks, and it just wasn't gelling. But it wasn't their fault. And I think it was important for us as coaches to say it was our fault and publicly, rather than have some of the players, even though we were under scrutiny, or as a coach, it was important for us to say, hang on, this is our fault, this is not theirs. And there was a lot of trust in our group, so it turned around fairly quickly. I don't think, to be honest, it turned around. It turned around quickly, but it didn't get to where it needed to get to, even up until the last game. We felt like we were on a path of development, but that wasn't an end point this season. That's why we're excited about next year. But we were improving without getting to the summit for us especially in that system-based play.
I guess that speaks volumes about the culture. I spoke to like Paddy Lane and Travis last week, and I guess throughout the season. I guess and what I can see, and I guess Kristen can see the same when you guys come and train, is that the culture in your team is it looks different. I guess it's special. Can you tell us what sort of culture you developed? Now, Travis likes the idea of the good bloke policy, which is what we try to do at 98 as well.
Yep.
And then I heard different things. I had a young guy from who's 15 years old who must be in your development squad. He was telling me how he has, they'll find out whether or not he's been kicked off a game for bad sportsmanship, if his grades are subpar, and that's all about the culture you're trying to build on. You have built at the Roosters. Yeah,
culture's sort of. It's been used a lot, but it's that feeling you get when you're around other people. And you guys talk about it, at 98, that's why people want to walk in every day. And that's why people walk in every day. They don't walk in once every 2 or 3 weeks. They want to walk in every day. And we have to see each other every day because that's our work, but we want to. You want to be around each other, and creating that culture, it's gone... it's gone through its its ebbs and flows as over the course of the 6-7 years. But I was explaining to our doctor today, who's just come on board, as a guy, like you want to have a hard culture, a hard training culture. So we put in a style of play really early on in 13, which was about you've got to play tough, especially in the area that we live and work. 98, the Roosters, it's glitz and glamour. Like there's
a lot of cappuccinos.
There is. There's a lot.
Almonds.
A little bit of almond
milk. And it's good. Like we love living here, but we had to switch that around from nice houses and nice cars and that what you would see as a soft underbelly to play rugby league, and then we switch it around about hang on, we worked for this area.
Yeah,
this area was the working class of Australia and Sydney. This is what built Sydney. This area was the slums around 98. That was all the slums and the brothels, and the plague hit in the 20s, and there was just every in that. But we knew we had to play hard. All the teams that have won at the Roosters, 74, 75 under Jack Gibson, played hard. In 2000 under Ricky, and around that early 2000s, one of your mates, Adrian Morley, and those sort of guys, they were hard. You can't come to the Roosters and play soft.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing on the field. And then over the course of the 6-7 years, there's a real macho culture around rugby league where you've got to walk around like that 24/7, and we just don't believe in that.
Yeah.
You can be whoever you like. You can be your own man or woman in our working environment. You can be yourself. We won't judge you as much. You don't have to earn respect. We talk about giving respect straight away. If you've been signed or worked for the Roosters, it means you've done something right, so don't have to earn it. But you can lose it by doing something wrong. But there's not a social ladder to climb once you're in our group. And that makes everybody feel comfortable straight away. And there's different ways. We try and offer different experiences which make people attracted to it. I think it's a hard-nosed environment that's safe.
Right.
Do you think the culture and the team you've built and all that kind of thing through all the people, there's a common characteristic? I know everyone's different, and it's similar to at the gym. We have 12-year-old boys to 60-year-old women and everything in between.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's some kind of general common ground for everyone. Is there one, like the playing tough thing, I get that. Is there one thing that maybe stands out for the team that you think these guys have all got this sort of thing in common? Or
I would say there's a couple of things that go with on-field and off-field. Intensity and power on-field is what is common throughout the way that we train and play. And then this idea of home is this idea of, if you think of home, that's the way that we want to set up the club. And so therefore the guys that we, so when you're saying a trade on the people that come into that, there's a certain amount of, you've got to give some of yourself. You've got to be open to, I don't care who you are, but you've got to, if you're going to walk into your home, you've got to be open.
Yeah. I'm guessing that as well, the whole, the buy-in and people being at home and all that, kind of bit like you were saying, you got 8 games in and then had to totally change exactly what you're doing. That makes it kind of easier because people are like, all right, well, this is what I said we're doing, so this is what we're going to do. Whereas if you didn't have that culture and that buy-in, people would be like, oh, everything's changed.
It just looks like a bunch of guys who would generally, it looks like the team now that you wouldn't have to deselect someone from the group, they would deselect themselves. So I think instead of the group saying anything, someone would know when they walked into your culture or into even a training day that this is the standard expected and everyone is at the standard. Now if you weren't there or you weren't part of a group, then I don't know if you'd need to say much before they understood they don't belong.
Well, it wouldn't go a day.
Yeah.
So today we trained today, and I had 2 examples. I didn't have anybody actually today say, but I had one of the players go, he was a bit off today on Monday. So we had one guy, and it wasn't a criticism personally. It was just that wasn't our standard, and that was their way of saying, I noticed that, and that was it. And we've got a young guy that was training today that one of our James Tedesco said, "Hey, that guy's got something today."
Yeah.
You know, he showed me that today. So they don't, like, you're not going to go a month of going. This is what happens in sport. Most you guys would have seen it. As coaches, you go back in and you watch someone train for a day and a week and then a month, and you're there going. You walk back in and the coaches are talking about, "Oh, geez, that guy annoys me. Why does he do this and that and that?" Yeah. And then the coach walks out and says, "Hey, I want you to do more of this," but doesn't give them honest feedback, and then they go and complain more and more. Whereas that environment where you can be honest, as long as you're not personal, you know, you're not attacking their character, but you're honest about, "Hey, that's not good enough," or "That is great." Like, everybody starts seeing it. Yeah. And everybody, it's hard to like write them all down, what everything is. And you do that, but James Tedesco knew what standard we want, and he saw a kid rise above that today and wanted to let the coach know.
I guess it comes from an environment too where if someone gives you feedback, it's a safe place. So if someone gives you positive or constructive feedback, everyone trusts enough to say, "Look, he's not attacking me personally. What he's doing is trying to make me better, and therefore, you know, I'm happy to take that on board."
Yeah, and you've got to do that quickly, as I said, like daily or weekly. There's the whole thing. It doesn't mean it's always comfortable. It has to be uncomfortable to be a progressive environment. So,
have you watched that change over the years for you? Like, is there a generational thing? I know we had, I wonder if it's okay, we had Wayne Bennett come in and speak to some of our guys in Perth.
Yep.
And he was talking, like the question was asked about Generation X, Y, Z, you know, and I'd be interested to see whether have you found that change, or is there a difference, or do guys just want to be led?
Wayne's seen about 5 generations.
There'd be more than that. Yeah.
I think he's seen.
When you said about the plague, I think he may have.
I think Wayne started at A, and now he's at X. You won't mind me saying that. No. I've seen guys be more aware. Like, there was a hardness that you had to hide 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You had to be hard, and then you hid the other bits about you.
Sure.
You know, and there's still a hardness. Like, I'm really blessed with the guys that I've got. So my senior leadership team is Boyd Cordner.
Yeah.
That's one hard man. Jake Friend is hard as I've seen. You've got Jared Weir-Hargraves, Mitchell Orbison and Cooper Cronk. Like, you take them back 20 years, they'll be mixing it. You take them back 40 years, they'll be mixing it. Like, those guys. So I don't know on all teams, but I've been really blessed with these guys that are really hard. But they're also, they'll go and do their mindfulness stuff that is, that came in yesterday. That wasn't around 20 years ago. But they'll go and do all that, and they don't. Doesn't make them any softer. I think the generations have got better at that, but I think the training environment has to create that. I think there's more options to be soft or weaker in our environment. That doesn't mean that guys will take them.
No. Do you see? As we talked about last week a little bit, where you can sort of look at a player and you're talking about physicality and the mentality, where you can sort of see now where, like, the guys turning up, and maybe they were like similar a few years back, and Chris, you'd probably be able to see whether or not you got 15 or 16-year-old boys who look like 20, 25-year-old men physically. Is that changed at all? Is the physicality of the game changed much? Are you seeing bigger guys, stronger guys? Yeah.
Well, we would how many Polynesians have gone? I think the stats on it were about 38% of the NRL now is Polynesian, whereas you guys, how many?
Well, I think when I first started, I would probably at Wakefield we had Willie Porchin and the guy Frank Mateen, so probably 2.
Yeah.
But I think even to overall, looking at the young kids and coming in, and we've had some young kids coming in, you can't believe how big they are now, how fit they are, and just born that way. But then even looking at a team, I'd say I don't know now. So 15 years ago, maybe when I started, there were a massive difference between like a winger and a front rower.
Yeah.
Whereas now you kind of look at the teams like that lining up down the squat rack, and they're very like, you know, there is
You'd have to ask what position they are.
they're very slight differences between some of them. Are, you know, like it's a pretty uniform size, shape, speed.
Yeah. You reckon you've got a big team, like physically?
I'd say we've got a forwards. I'd say some teams would have bigger forwards, but we've got mobile, powerful forwards, but not many would have bigger backs.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you get that uniform bit from our wingers. So wingers often change, but ours wingers are the 6'2" to 6'4" type. Good for me in the way that what we used to have was really tough, white, slow twitch guys playing our game for the most part.
Yeah.
Now our game, you cannot play if you are not fast twitch. If you don't get past that, and this is where the balance we need to go back on it as coaches. So there's a limit. You have to be fast twitch to play our game.
Yeah.
You know, but so what has that ruled out? That's ruled out some of the bits where you'll hear the older players, supporters, and players complain about is the game sense, the footy smarts. Where's the small, slow halfback that's and what we've got to do is make sure that we're continuing to develop the footy smarts whilst getting the athlete. Because people, like, we're an entertainment. People, like, that's what we do. We get to, and what we've got to do is entertain. So people want to see things that the average person can't do. So the physical feats bit has increased a lot. What we've got to do is some of it they also want to see decisions that they couldn't make.
Yeah.
And that's where the debate has been in the last few years about, they're all athletes but not footy players. And I would debate that, but I do think that we still do need to develop lots of high-quality decisions, not just high-quality athletes.
Yeah, I guess it's you want someone who's fast, strong, and it's really hard to kill what you can't catch, you know, in the end.
Well, that's why there's a line that if you don't cross that line physically, you're going to play reserve grade.
Yeah.
And it's hard. You know, it's hard to tell guys that because you can see some really good footy players that are there, but then...
Oh, Julian was pretty good. Well, I don't think you'll get this over here. Yeah.
I'll send it to him.
But that's, I mean, the good thing about Super League is it's still in that they'll take a lot more risk.
Yeah.
Risk has gone out of our game a little bit because of the attrition aspect, because they're big, strong, and powerful. Plus, they can play for 80 minutes or more.
Yeah.
So the attrition's really big. You've got to wear them down over 20 minutes. Whereas in Super League, they'll go, let's go on this play. We're going to take a big risk, and it's really that's why I still enjoy watching both competitions.
It is different. Like I played Super League, and I look at the NRL now, or just the games that's going forward, and I'd be like, no way, because I'm like Robbo said, I'm like big and heavy and fairly slow. So even though you could run forward in a straight line fast and make an impact, if somebody's running at you and you've got no agility, you're like, you're nowhere. So I watch the games now. I look at like dudes like Sam Lynch and think, like, he's a big dude who's fast and he's very agile.
Yeah.
I think in Super League, watching Super League, you know, whether people who listen to this want to hear it or not, it's maybe slightly slower, and they still have the big, like, 130 kilo players that will come on for 10 minutes and take a 15-metre run up to crash through the line. And, you know, like you said, the fans will look at them and be like, wow. What they won't see is, like, where he's wide at mark at both sides and then the halfback gets in behind him. They don't see that. The team sees it and the coach sees it, but the fans don't.
Yeah.
And I think there's no space for that.
No, and that's what I was going to say about the differences in the last 20 years is it was all strength training.
Yeah.
There was no strength and power training or intensity in the work. It was all lift heavy, high reps, get big. Yeah. We turned a lot of fast twitch fighters into slow twitch. And that's where in England, the big men, like, they were big men playing. And that was the beauty in watching the different nations play as well.
You're just saying you got a guy come over from the UK?
Yep.
Ryan Hall. So, and he's how old?
Ryan's 31, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan's 31. He's
But Pat was saying that he's just like strong. Like,
yes,
it's ridiculous.
I've watched.
He sort of, well, he came in, he got off the plane straight into the first training session or something.
Yeah, I remember I asked Chris about it. I think Chris said, "Oh, you really like him, but he's different."
Yeah.
And then I talked to somebody else, and someone said the same. And he's been unreal. Like he's a real detailed, intense guy, really highly intelligent.
Yeah.
But a character at the same time. He's got a real sort of nature about him. I don't know. And then but as far as an athlete, like strength and power, he's big.
He's a prime example where if you looked at him walking down the street, you could mistake him for a front row or a back row. He's massive, but he's like fast.
What's he play? Like a wing?
Wing.
Yeah, right.
Yep. He's been international winger probably 35 tests or something. He's
played one of those how many games for Leeds and how many grand finals?
6 grand final wins. Yeah.
So, I mean, when I told you before you came in that I asked a couple of people what they thought about you.
There we go.
So I did mention that their jobs were on the line. So I asked a couple of questions. I asked, what do you admire about most? And I got nothing back on that. So Paddy said your ruthlessness, determination, and your general intelligence. There was a funny emoji after that one, but I think he meant you were quite intelligent, the same thing. And Travis mentioned your composure under pressure. Now, I think I saw you smile in one game. That was the grand final down there. Do you want is there something that you do in terms of it's clear to see you're driven and it's but your composure under pressure, that must wash across the rest of the team for sure.
Yeah,
because these guys, I mean, the other coaches you watch in and around you, like even when you're not there, it's like you can tell that they're just they're high level guys. Very, very good. Does that? And then I guess the second part of that question is where do you go to get that? Like they all, I guess you don't gripe and whinge down or mentor downwards in terms of you mentor them and.
Yeah, but I also select guys that are in that vein as well. Like Travis is very much in that vein as well, and he's been comfortable in high pressure games for him as a physio and as a high performance guy, State of Origin as well. I don't know. I think there's. I've worked on it. I think I had it. I don't. A lot of people will say, I won't smile during games, or I won't. But
I get the same as well.
But the emotion that I feel, this isn't always a good trait. So when I did a lot of my personality testing, and you do my emotional intelligence is high. But my emotional expression is low.
Yeah.
So I feel it all. I see it all. I'm really aware of how people feel around me, but I don't always get it back across. So there's a strength and a weakness to that. The strength is that what we see, I can if I'm wobbling and going, hey, this is an uncomfortable situation here.
Yeah.
It may look as though I'm just, it doesn't matter to me, which is a real strength.
Yeah.
But then also when I'm dealing with a player and I need to give a bit of my heart, maybe he won't see it. I actually have to make an effort. I'm sure my partner Sandra says the same thing, that that emotional expression bit, or my kids or whatever. I've got to make sure that I'm very clear when I want to get my emotion across to someone, because even though I think it's clear coming out of me, it may not be clear in the way that I express myself. So that's the sort of scientific or technical part of it. But you also work on it. Like I'm positive about a result. I think we'll always win.
Yeah.
So my toughest moments of all has been sort of 14, 15 and 17 after the last game. Because right up until then, I don't care what situation we're in, it's like, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We'll get this done. We'll get this done. What's the next way? Because I'll enjoy the strategy part. So if you're in a really tough bind, awesome. Let's go. Let's work out a way to get out of that. So, and until the clock stops until that sort of final whistle goes. And that final whistle doesn't go at the end of a round game. Yeah, you might have won or lost the game, but the season is competition.
That's pressure.
That's one competition. Yeah. That's still a heated game, week situation. It's all, you've got to find a way. And that's, I love that part.
Yeah. So in terms of, so you went over and visited different clubs, you go to different areas. You went and had a chat to the Crusaders.
Yep.
Last year, look at that because they've got a quite interesting camp as well.
Yeah.
No breakdancing from you this year. Which is
no, Razor's got that one. I was going to, but he...
No.
Super rugby.
Scott Robinson is Razor, their coach. He's a great coach, different cat, and he breakdances at the end of their...
On
the
when they win the title. So I was going to do that, but he did it first.
He did it, he took it first.
Yeah.
So why go cross code and why go over there? Or to different places?
Again, you're attracted by certain types of cultures or certain types of people. Sort of, I'm at that point where I've seen enough facilities and all of that. Now you get attracted to, what is he thinking or what does he like? So Scott came over. The All Blacks do a really good thing. They've got a really good system of hiring their coaches. So Scott came over for one of our pre-seasons, start of 17, I think it was. So therefore, we've exchanged a lot. We got along quite well. We were in France. We sort of crossed paths at the same time around sort of 2003-04. He was at USAP and I was at Toulouse. And anyway, it's just, we talk enough where we exchange ideas and start to get progressive. If you want to move forward, you've got to get lit up in different ways by different coaches or different environments. And the Crusaders they've won the last 2 titles.
Yeah.
They've got good people. They've got a dynamic environment. So you enjoy doing that. Obviously, went away at the end of this season, just gone to meet different coaches and to pick stuff up and get excited. So, because if I walk in every day, so Mitchell Orbison's my guide. Mitchell Orbison's been there for, I was going to say something rude to Orbo, but a long time. So he's one of my ones, and he often says it to me. My thing is to surprise him.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to change your principles about how you go about your training and how you play, because that's what sustains success, but you've got to get it across in different ways. So if I can walk in and surprise Orbo, then I know that the guys are going, okay, this is, I know how he wants us to play and think, but okay, that's
change
different. Yeah, and you've got to constantly, and I'm a guy that gets bored as well.
Yeah.
Like I may not seem it, but I do, I need to have something new and a new adventure to go after, and I want to be at the Roosters for a long time, but I also want to make the Roosters exciting for someone if they're going to be there for 10 years, that they're feeling like there's something new.
I think that's a massive thing as well. Like even in the gym world where you can see something else, like whether it be cross-code or, for us like another gym or another, and you can appreciate and then take something from it. Like you were saying, that's the only way to be progressive. Like otherwise you end up just getting stuck with your own
fucking bored.
Yeah.
And you can see it everywhere. Like it's everywhere. Yeah. Like if you're looking for, I'll give you a good example. Like this will be quite strange for some people, but so like your Michelin star restaurants. Okay, so there's, believe it or not, there's a guy in Toulouse who is a 1 or 2 Michelin star, and he likes rugby league. So what he does is, I don't know how often he does this, but he set up a table. I've seen it before, but they set up a table in the kitchen. And I said, can I come in and eat with my partner and friends on a Saturday night? Because I want to see how you deliver Michelin star quality food every single day. And to hold on to that, this is top of the tree in the way. And so he sat us down to Saturday night service, and we watched his whole staff go through the process of delivering those meals.
Nice.
that was huge learning. That was incredible. If you can't see process and repetition and principles in preparation, but then the artistic and creative work that goes into that, like that's the way to keep getting excited about something new and something different. And you don't always just have to go and see another rugby league coach, or it's everywhere.
I was lucky enough to, like, there's Danny, who's one of the guys that I train. He's a chef. Now, physically, you know, he's clearly gifted. You know, hopefully he doesn't listen to this because that's sarcastic. But, you know, trip him into food, and then when he talks about the preparation of food, so he's got his own little kitchen where he's set up. You can, you know, I've been there twice, and he's prepared meals, and a completely different guy. And what he doesn't know about the preparation, how he does it, and the setup, and you talk about the passion that he has when he does this stuff. You can't help but just get excited about what he's cooking, how he's doing it, and he talks about the hours of prep beforehand, how he'll sit there and like everything's driven in his world around that. Like, that's all he thinks about. That's all he's ever done. That's all he ever wants to do, and it was one of the most interesting things I've ever done.
It is, because that's like if you know, a lot of the top chefs around the world go to France and learn the basics of cooking. You know, how to use butter, salt, how to cook with bread, like, you know, how to different degrees and temperatures, all on your basic units. And then they go off to their different countries and become really creative around that and do so many different things.
Yeah.
But it's the same in what we do. You know, and I have an issue with the way that we're doing it at our club, and I want to improve that. And I have an issue in rugby league about that we skip over. Everyone wants to skip over the building blocks of the fundamentals of how you play our sport, and they want to get to be creative.
Yeah.
And we can't be creative enough because we don't have the strong fundamentals in catch, pass, you know, grip, tackle tech, all those real basics.
Yeah, it's funny listening to it because it's exactly, you talk about like in the chef world or playing rugby league or even in the gym, it's exactly the same. We get people in trying to, you know, we run a very sort of like a standard strength and conditioning program, which is like a base. I suppose Kevin would be able to explain it better than me. But you get these people in that want to come and do some crazy upside down movements before they've actually built the building blocks.
Yeah.
There's just nothing there.
No, that's it. You look at a triangle. It's like you need a big base to get to a higher peak. And they don't understand. They don't want to put in the work, or they don't see the work, or whatever. I mean, we talk about someone contacting me the other day and wants basically a replicate program of what I do for Owen. I said, sure, you know, he's been playing for 15, 20 years.
What position do you play for the
All
Blacks?
No, he's so I think he's like 17, so he's, you know, he's not far off Owen's vintage. But I said, look, what you need to do is build this base and do this. He's like, well, you know, I think I'm pretty strong. I think I'm pretty this. I'm like, well, you know, it doesn't really matter that you've had 6 months, you know, 9 months, whatever. What you need to understand is that this stuff takes 2, 5 years. And I think it's, even though it may seem boring, and unfortunately the internet, YouTube, all that sort of stuff is filled with bullshit. And unfortunately what works is what is. You can't skip over biological laws. You can't circumvent, you know, certain types of training and rules. They are what they are. It's interesting.
Jack Nicklaus, there was a story, I don't know whether it's true or not, but it's a good way of about us when we get back to pre-season. Every year he used to walk back in to his coach and say, okay, so now how do I hold the club again?
Yeah.
That was a story that goes around the coaching bit, which goes, okay, take me back to the building blocks, and then I'll go out and do what I do again. But that was his process about going back to the start. Yeah.
And we can have a look at, if you want to quickly talk about your training. I mean, you come back in the gym, how long has it been now? Is it a year, 2 years? You've been
2 years, I think.
What was the sort of catalyst for that?
So I stopped, I think, 2005.
You got a plethora of injuries, haven't you?
Yeah, I had, but that was a bit of that sort of stuff. You went in and you did heavy strength training, and I had sort of just injuries around knee and that, and then I went head on into coaching.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it, and all I could think about, I think if you want to be really good at something, you've got to dream it. Okay, so all I did was do that, and then started the family, and I just neglected every bit of training.
Yeah.
And you sort of, and a lot of rugby league guys do it. They end up going, okay, I'm in a team sport, and then I found my passion, which ended up being my job. But then, what do you do? How are you gonna?
Yeah.
Like you just honestly, you have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, and it's all excuses all wrapped around that. You go, well, you just spend every bit of time going from home to work and back and forth, and that was awesome. Best period of my life was building that. But then, there was a really, I guess I've sort of found for the first time, and I wanted to had some goals around strength and wanted to get stronger, sort of to go after something off the field, which was really good last year. I think I hit some
big numbers.
Well, big. That's very nice of you to say. Big numbers,
well, you only got to look at. They're all relative to where you come from. You got to understand where you started. You know, and that's a difference. So it's like there was times there where it looked like you were limping.
Yeah,
because you were. Yeah,
because I was.
Yeah.
No, but that was and it was always trying to search for. It was always an outlet, so I ebb and flow throughout the season as well. So the start now is a really good time to get going and getting some strength and all of that, and then back end of the year, even though I'd like to continue, your nervous system gets a hit. So it's not, you're not going to chase numbers back end of the season. It's more just sort of getting through it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the environment that you guys have created there, it's I know you guys don't like talking about yourselves or that very often.
It's him that did it.
Yeah, but there's I haven't found an environment like what I used to play in, which is I think you wanted to create something that you felt as a team, but also a really comfortable environment that if you walk in there, you got to train hard, and respect your environment, but it's also not, you don't prance.
No,
and that's it's actually, there's not many. It's really hard to find a place like that. So, and that's why it's been good for me to go in there, but also for you guys to allow me to take the team in there to go, hey, this is how it should be done.
And that's great for us. Like I mean,
it's cool to be able to learn this.
Yeah. And we like I say, we run a strength and conditioning program very much similar to, I suppose, like what I did when we played footy and when Kev worked and stuff like that. And you guys are doing it at the top end. So for our members and people like that can see, these guys deadlift and back squat as well, and these guys do intervals on the back. Actually, they can just say, all right, well, if they're doing it.
But I know a good program. When I said I don't know how to program like you guys, but I know a good program, and also you see consistency in the people that lift, and it's not just there's thought over the whole week, which will lead into a month, which will lead into your cycles, and it just doesn't happen. I think you guys are that you're onto something there. And I'm looking at the way that you guys train. People should get, not your program, but the way that the intensity that they train, people should get injured more, but they don't.
No, and that's again, I think I'm lucky to be able to have a solid bunch of people to deliver the program. That makes a big difference. It also makes a big difference too that we had enough time to build a really good culture, and then we have this time to implement a program, and then just to make them robust enough that we can start to do a whole bunch of more fun little things. All the cool stuff that you get to do towards the peak of your little performance triangle. You make someone stronger, you make something a bit more resilient, so you get them believing in themselves. They get numbers that they never thought possible, and then you can start to play with that cool stuff at the end. And it's fun.
What about the pressure though? Because it's easy in a sporting environment because we get given an opportunity to, over the course of a year with top end athletes. But when does financial pressure to keep a business going clash with the culture, and you make a decision over those two. Have you had to come to those ones at different times? And go,
Yeah,
I'm not going to compromise, or
I think there's a couple of things in it. One, the first starting out the gym, obviously Russell owned it, so I opened it up for Russell, and Russell wanted very like this many members, this and this, so that he could use it himself for films and stuff like that. So we had a bit of breathing space in the first couple of years financially. So like I picked members pretty much. Like we had people in there that I wanted in there, people that I didn't want in there, we didn't have them in. It wasn't a case of we need to get everyone in here to pay the rent, because we had, like I said, we had a bit of breathing space with a bit of sort of, Russell owned the building and we were doing a bit of film work at the time.
Yeah.
I think now, there has been, like when I bought the gym, what would it be, 18 months ago, and I wanted to implement this program that Kev writes, and I 100% believe in it. It takes a lot of time it's taken a bit of time to educate everyone into this is what we need to do. And there is a bit of pressure there, because people that like used to being entertained, where, they go to the gym to be, and I've said a million times, like, we're not in the entertainment business. Like, you want to get fitter, it's not always fun, but you will get fitter. And I think that at the start we're a bit like, shit, this is...
See, I knew it was going to work, but because I come from like a program where that's exactly all I did. I put this very, very similar program into like the tactical environment, and it worked. So for me, it wasn't like is it going to work? The problem is, like, are they going to do it consistently enough that we see results? Like, it's just like, give me 6 to 8 weeks. And again, I'm a lot like you, 10 times worse with the I guess anything to do with empathy or emotion. But I love it so much, I believe in it so much, but it probably doesn't leave my face that often. But all I really want is these guys and girls to get as fit and as strong as they can, and then when I see that happen, and then it automatically, without them actually knowing, building their physicality, it builds some resilience, and it builds a bit of self-belief, and then they get like, shit, I didn't know I could do that, and then it sort of steps them up a little bit, like, well, if I can do this, I can go and do this. I love that.
They also start looking at totally different things. Like, you might get them at the start and they want to lose 5 kilos. And then once they've been there for 6 weeks, they want to hit 300 metres in a minute on the rower, or they want a double body weight deadlift, or they want... And the like aim of training totally changes. I think with that, like, I never doubted the program ever. As soon as I saw it, like Kev's experience, and it came highly recommended and everything else, you just sometimes, for me, I doubted. I wondered if people would buy into it, because some of it's not exciting. Like today we did energy system development, and it's 6 minutes on an air bike, or rower or skier, 2 minutes rest for 4 rounds. It's not exciting, but it turned out that now that's people's favourite session. Like people are like, I love that session, because it builds that base, so that when we do our interval weight training on Monday, or we do the circuit based stuff, or we jump in the FIF and we have a tank. Like, I can feel that tank because of that session. And that's been, I think, the way it's been written, and like Kev said, put across. Like Kev can answer any question on it, as well as all the other coaches that are there. Like, why are we doing this? This is exactly why you're doing it. And then they see the results. It's like...
Well, I think too, like, that's when you know you've got a solid program. If you just throw shit at a wall and then just pick off the bits you like, and then try to confuse people with like random movements. Like for me, if someone asks me why we're doing this, or we do this because I want to build your posterior chain, the reason we build your posterior is so you can actually squat more, you can go harder here, you can run faster, you can stop, you can start, you can turn, you can do what you want. Why do we do this next to this? Well, that's because everything has a rhyme and a reason. And as soon as you can answer that, and then they see the results, that they build that trust. But I think, again, I say this every time when someone asks, is that Chris is very humble when it comes to, like, was there a bit of a financial burden, or was there, I don't know how you managed to do it, but he bought the gym, implemented a program, ripped the gym apart, and we made it new completely again, and decided to have a baby at the same time, because it obviously wasn't hard enough. Last year, hands down, I'd say for me, biggest, hardest year ever.
Yeah.
We jammed a lot in personally and in business sense into that entire year. And there's, I think the hardest thing we've done in terms of financially is got rid of the guy who washed our towels.
Okay. We'll get him back.
But it's been good for me to even watch that transformation, because I was going through the changeover, but then also going, hey, this gym's awesome, and then you guys go, okay, this is how it can get better. Unreal at the same time, but it's
not. I had someone come in today and she was like, oh, do you have a front counter? I was like, yep, it's just left to my own devices. I'd have myself and one other person in that gym, and that'd be it, because my customer service is, it's good when you understand my humour and where it comes from.
As long as you're his best man.
As long as we're friends, we're all good. And I've got 5, and that's all I want. But I couldn't implement the program and do what I do without that culture which he's built. And you talk about just the towels is a funny thing. This is, we've got members, without saying anything, we'll go and grab a whole bunch of dirty towels, wash them and fold them. It happens on the weekend when we're not there. Even the guy who lives in the back alley has helped us out a couple of times when the door's been open. He's told the Ambos, and the Ambos know someone else who rang us and said, oh, your back door's open. This is like 3 a.m.
But it seeps into the walls. You see people walk in and they want to help out. And that's the thing about creating a culture is it's not, like, you can't do everything. We're not the personality styles of people. Like, I don't like certain things and others. That's why, Travis has a huge impact. Craig Fitz has a huge impact. Steph Brennan, head of physio and all that, they all have a big impact. But then, Kath King, like everybody, as soon as you understand the DNA of your group, then everybody's in charge of it. And everybody will accept the James Tedesco example that I gave you about training. It's the same as off the field. Let's go and do this when it's time that we go and hang out together. I know you guys do that as well. Like, it's time to let your hair down and do stuff together. And but everyone has to pitch in. If dictatorships don't work in those environments,
it's been extremely interesting. Do you want to I don't. It's very hard because we've got 2 favourite teams that we allow in the gym. One being the Roosters and the other one's being Corey's team, South. I think he's the coach. With the grand final, I enjoyed watching that. It was one of my favourite games. I also enjoyed watching, like, what I refer to as the unofficial grand final. It was one against Souths as well. That first half was amazing. Is it? We talked about before about the peak and you're coming to the end. And what did that feel like to you in terms of watching those guys? And then looking at what Cronk did that game.
Yeah, it was so much fun, that whole, like, even leading into it, as soon as we sort of went to recovery centre on the Sunday, I still remember sort of just off Oxford Street there, and we just sort of walked up and we told them, right, this is what's wrong and this is how we're going to play it this week. And then we enjoyed the week. We knew what we wanted to do on the weekend. We decided the thing about the strategy bit, it wasn't like, oh no, we've got to work out a different strategy. It was, okay, here we go. Most of the time you're just trying to manage people well that week to get them to play the style that you played all year. We were like, okay, we're going to have to play a different style for one game. And it's a pretty big game. So, and it was like, okay, let's go. How are we going to get this done? And it was such an exciting couple of days in working out the strategy. And then we're working out how we're going to use. We didn't know if Cooper was going to play or not. So then, okay, Coops, are you going to do this interview? And then you're not going to do that. And Coops, like, it was a really enjoyable week because of the way that man handles his mind is incredible. So then when we went into the game, I guess it just showed how those senior guys that I talked about a while ago, they were our best players on the field. Yeah. Luke Keary decided early on, Jake Friend, Mitchell Orbison, Jared Wira-Hargraves, those guys, Boyd Cordner, they just went, well, we're going to play this way. And they played their best games on the last day.
Oh.
Not the best we can ever play, but the best we played last season was that last game, and I guess it's just so rewarding to see the way that they defended and attacked, and the synergy between the two, and we've been working towards that for such a long time.
And then just started attacking the entire time.
Yeah, the week before against Souths, like that was, we defended really well.
Yeah.
In that we danced well. That's what like if you got to make it live. So in the way that we defended, we tackled well and we danced well. We made good decisions. We moved, and it was like it's not heralded enough. I don't think in our game people can't see it or don't talk about it enough. People only comment 50% of the game, which is attack. The other 50, I thought it was poetic the way that some of those guys moved.
Yeah,
like to watch Jake Friend move in defence is an art form for me. So I might be different in the way that I view things, but like it's incredible to watch him move. And then, but we were getting better, but we just. But it was to get guys. I think once when you talk about the pressure heightens, it can align people or it can tear people apart, and it aligned us.
Yeah.
And the players aligned themselves to a common goal and to a common cause, and it was beautiful.
How tough was it to pick the run-on side?
Well, that was hard. So what happened there was if you take out Cooper Cronk, so when we were picking the team, if you take out Cooper Cronk, we'd all decided to, like those senior players, we go, right, we're going to play Mitchell Orbison at halfback, move Isaac Liu from right edge, the lock roll to right edge where he defends well. Okay, so the two of those guys were going to stand next to each other, and we're going to start Victor Radley, because with Mitchell Orbison, he was going to play a decoy role as a halfback, but we'd lost a ball player. So our best forward ball player was Victor Radley, so he had to start. So that was all pretty easy once he was out. But then when Cooper came back in, the hardest thing was one of our senior players was Isaac Liu, but we needed Victor Radley's ball playing because Cooper was going to come back in, but he wasn't going to do any ball playing.
Yeah.
So we needed, and we trained all week with Victor. So when Isaac, being a senior player and started all year almost, went back to the bench for the start of the game to accommodate what we worked on all week, which was typical Isaac and typical selfless play. And then Lindsay Collins had to drop off the bench. Obviously, Latrell Mitchell came back in, and Dylan Napa, guys that had huge service for years and were always going to come back in. But, shuffling the decks was around strategy.
Yeah. Lindsay's got to be one of my favourite guys.
Lindsay, why is that? Because
he's got a good mullet.
North of the border.
Well, he's
a mullet.
Well, he did have a mullet. There's a couple of reasons, and obviously being where he's from helps. The mullet had me from day one. But I think we've talked over the last 12 months maybe 3 times. And remembered my name, remembered a whole bunch of things, talked really nice. We had a 12-year-old kid in there with the wrecking ball that you met. And without being prompted, come over, sat down, talked to him for a bit. I mean, a lot of the players did, but Lindsay made him feel quite at home, which was really nice. I enjoyed watching him play, but I enjoyed also what happened post the game as well for you as well.
Well, I think he played 7 games last year, and he is a big, powerful man. Big, powerful man. So Lindsay would be 109, 110, sitting around there. But we just did our fitness test today, and he would have finished 3rd or 4th in the whole group. But if you had a speed test as well, like he's really fast. So when he came off the bench for us, there's obviously, but he's learning his trade. A front rower gets really good around sort of 24 plus.
Yeah.
And he's learning his trade. But he was very powerful and changed the back end of our season. He gave us a lot of energy. And when senior guys pick younger guys, they go, "Hey, this guy, I like it when he comes on."
Yeah.
And he did that to us. So, and he played semi-final against Cronulla, semi-final against Souths, and played really well.
Yep.
But Dylan Nupper had been. He was 18th man in 2013, and he should have played. He got us to that grand final as well. Napa in 13, he got us into that position as a club, and he deserved that. And Lindsay knew it.
Yeah.
He didn't. So yeah, to give him that, like it's not even a.
So what did you give him to say anyway?
Yeah, so you get a premiership ring at the end of the season, and it's a really nice ring, and but I didn't need a ring, you know, and I think Lindsay deserved one. He even though he was 18th man, he played, so I ended up giving it to him after the game, and it was I was searching for him everywhere on the field. I'm going, I don't know where Lindsay was. I couldn't find him. So poor old Lindsay, I ended up having to give it to him in the sheds in front of everyone. But I was looking for him on the field as we were going around. But, and it's nice when they're really appreciative like that as well.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I can remember too, same time last year when Cooper first turned up. And I think a couple of guys have commented just how unassuming he was, how polite he was. There was no hype or anything behind him, or no rock stardom, you know, which he's clearly earned in terms of like his ability as a player, but just sort of fit into the group and straight away just worked. And it just seems to be a trend every time I see you guys train. It's just
I mean Chris saying about the people who decided to let in the gym or not.
Yeah,
it's the same choice. Like there's certain players that are amazing players that are going to compromise your culture. Some guys are amazing footy players that aren't going to fit in your group.
Did you cop a lot of flack early on with that? Did that take you? I mean, you would have you would have made decisions around that early on. That took a long time to build.
No, because not because of Cooper. Like
I mean at the start, I guess that culture. I mean, Cooper was. I don't think anyone's disputing the fact. But early on, I mean, this has been your idea, that culture, that good bloke factor, or the right culture fit.
Well, it's hard because you got to win games.
Yeah.
Like it's so.
I guess the financial cost for you is different in terms of.
Yeah, and it is because like you can have all the grand plans that you like, but you got to win.
Yeah.
You have to win.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, I would have done it this way or that way if I had more time or whatever." Well, if you keep winning, you'll have more time to build it in. So you've got to have an idea, but you can't have an end point in the first couple of years of going, I need the culture to be 100% like that. You need to have a real clear picture about the type of people that you want. But we also attract players that aren't always from the best upbringing.
Yeah.
And they don't have always the best principles. They're great footy players, but they often... And your job's not to recruit the perfect guy. Your job is to create a really good environment that can help create better men.
Yeah. You
got to win footy games and create better men. That's how I see it. And we've had some really good guys that have changed and developed and become really good men and dads and all that. And then you've had guys that are really good people but that don't change, and eventually they're out. And eventually they work their way out of the group. So being clear about all that, and you make errors. Like they're going, I shouldn't have done that, and then you improve. It's never done. You're never at a point where you're finished.
Yeah. And what? How do you de-stress? Like, what's during the year, and like, is there a post-game thing that you do, or is there anything you do to relax? Or you just wait till you win a grand final?
Well, that's what everyone always says. You got to have a hobby. I'm like, I don't like.
I used to sleep. I think that was one of the best things I found.
I'm not.
Kate says to me, you need a hobby. I was like, I'm doing every day what
Yeah,
I would do as a hobby.
yeah,
Exactly.
So-
That's
It's hard, but
Yeah.
that's true.
No, someone asked me on Christmas, like, you need to go get out a bit more. Like, well, I'm with people 6 days a week, and then outside of that, I like thinking about it, writing about it, looking, researching. It's good. Like I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
I think people find their passion, right? So some people, I always thought that you always had to, your passion had to be in your work, and I'm lucky enough that it is. But I've worked out that that isn't what always life's about. So people have hobbies around their passion, and people work hard to then do their passion. Whereas I'm in the middle of it, and so I really enjoy that. But there's also other stuff like I do enjoy reading and experiencing that sort of thing, and I love travel.
Yeah,
I used to. That was the thing about bunkering down here because I love traveling, going overseas.
Yeah.
And every couple of years I'd have to do something different, and I'd have to go somewhere or change jobs or do. Whereas that's not. I don't want to do that anymore, but I still have to.
Yeah.
I've got to go somewhere new. So like at Christmas, I was telling you, I went back to France with the family, Sandra's family and all that, but we had to go, rightio, we're going, don't tell anyone, but we'll turn up at the airport and we're off. And we went to Rome for 2 nights, but we had to do something different, some adventure. So, I don't know, de-stress. I think that every day, like if you don't repair yourself every day in our job, it accumulates. So I do conscious stuff about repairing at the end of every day. If you accumulate by the end of every week, you're in some trouble in our job. So set your energy in the morning, repair at night, and go every day.
I enjoyed that journal book, the thing that I went through with you earlier in the year. And so for me, everyone keeps talking about mindfulness and meditation. And I understand the process, but for me, like when we train on a Friday, like there's not much else I can do on some of those Friday sessions, is other than think about exactly what I'm doing in that moment and breathing and focusing on the next breath because there may not be another one. That's and some people understand that, but for me, that's my mindfulness. That's my physical recovery. That happens. If I sleep well and if I eat well. But then having a release somewhere where I can just think about nothing else other than next rep or whatever I have to do and think about my next breath.
What about recovery for you guys?
We're lucky because we got Cultivate.
Yep.
I've got some great pics of Chris asleep on that couch there, just
with the Normatex on. And
yeah, it's good.
But then I sauna couple times a week.
So this is the thing, right? So I was going to Bronny to Bondi on Sunday morning, and I'm jet lagged, so I'm up early, and I'm about 6:45. I'm at Bondi, and Jake Friend's walking down the steps about to go to the sauna on Sunday morning, and everyone sees the tough hooker and all of that, and lifts weights and runs hard and all that, but this is the bit that people don't. That there is that you have to do that other stuff. People will think, to train hard, you just only have to train hard, whereas you're seeing a lot of the other stuff. And I'm with you. You don't have to sit and meditate.
No.
So it does work for people, but meditation may be a lighter session. It may be I did a lot of yoga in the last 2 months, leading up to.
We can cut that bit out.
Yeah, it was awesome. I didn't do it until last year.
Yeah,
and then never done it. Went away to Queenstown, did it for a week, and went, okay, this is.
Yeah. Well, I think too, we always talk about it as well. It's like a bank account. If you continually take money out of your account and never put anything back in, and then, we talk about recovery being putting back into the account. Well, if you're constantly operating in the red, eventually it's all over.
Yeah.
So some people take recovery to the next level where they recover more than they train, which is, is what it is. But I think if you don't do that, there's no way you can repeat the effort, and eventually you'll overreach and overtrain, and then that hole you've dug yourself takes a long time to come out of.
Yeah, I think the bit that you were talking about there, though, is mindfulness.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean always doing something physical to feel better. And I think you can do it through that. It means being conscious to me. Like, you have to make a decision. So for me, I can't say for everyone else, but for me, I consciously have to go set my energy for the day.
Yeah.
So you'll meet lots of different people within a day, and if they're giving you the energy that they've got, you're relying on external bits to see how your day's going.
Yeah.
Your job, my job is to give energy most of the time. So I have to set that in the morning.
How do you do that?
So something is different periods, journaling, making really clear about your intention for the day, and sometimes it's just going, okay, this is the way that I'm. Okay, what's today? Being clear on today. And people get lazy on their day. It's just another mundane day. Whereas don't miss a day. Just be really clear and positive about what you want to get out. Sometimes people do it within a breath, just going, okay, but be conscious about what you want to get out of it.
Yep.
And then at the end, you can accumulate quickly most people accumulate good experiences, but a lot of people hang on to bad experiences.
Yeah.
So you have to get rid of them at the end of the day. If you're waiting to the end of the year, there's a lot of tension build up, or the end of the week or whatever. So you do have to, and I reckon it's mindfulness is all it is thinking about it, setting it, and then moving quickly. And you can do that during a half-hour meditation. You can do it through a 2-second thought and clarity. So then everything that comes in already has a backboard to bounce off that you've decided that it's going to be, okay, no, nothing's going to touch me today.
And you get, obviously, that's after repetitiveness, you get faster and better at doing it, don't you? It's not one of those processes that you need to focus on again and again. It's just simply waking up, writing down or thinking about it, and then off you go. Yeah,
and then there's the big days. Not every day is the same. Sometimes I go into businesses and talk about game day. Everyone has their game day, and then that's when you've got to really set of nothing goes wrong on game day. So whatever game day is for you, you might be a car salesman, or you might be might be going for a job interview.
Yeah.
If you're waking up and crossing your fingers on that day, then you've missed the whole point. You've got to get yourself set and be clear, and that's when you can really use. If you use mindfulness on those days, then you can take a fraction of that on every other day and set your intention really well.
How do you manage job, family, kids, all that sort of stuff wrapped into one, especially over a busy year? Do you have a set thing? Did you shut up?
I did. I was thinking, as soon as you said that, I started thinking about Sandra. What would Sandra say right now?
Hopefully she hasn't listened to this.
I think some of those things about prioritising, because naturally you will, because family's always there, you can rely on that, and then you can dream about footy for me. So I've got to make sure that I prioritise different things at different times and the moments, and especially with the kids. You want to. There's so much gold, valuable time in time spent that they need and you need. Yeah. So it's just organising that time. But I only do I work, spend time with my family. And then around that, I don't do much. I get, So I don't think I'm perfect at all that, but
You got priorities set though.
Well, nothing will get in the way of those two things.
What do you reckon? We were not laughing. We were probably like borderline tearing at the end of last year. Just the same sort of thing. We were just struggling with. There's always something to be done. There's always something to do. And there was many times it was like someone's tapped us on the foot and we were asleep on the couch. Like sucking in flies. Yeah, and I guess it's something.
Yeah, that's like I said, prioritise, I suppose.
Yeah.
For me, it'd definitely be. It's a combo very similar. It'd be family and the gym.
Yeah.
And without one, the other don't work.
No.
And vice versa. Like, it'd be great to just 100% hang about with Ruby and Kate all day, but then we'd have nowhere to live. And vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, I love the gym and the people in it and everything else, but like I can only be me at the gym because of everything that goes on at home. So yeah, and I'm the same. I don't do much else apart from the gym and go on.
And I think
is good.
Not seeing them as well, it's not you want them with them, which you will do. You need to spend quality time, but you also want to show them, you want to work hard so they can strive towards something.
It was something we talked about. Like, I mean, we've been lucky. My dad was the same. He was. And I guess it's with everyone. It's very. You can talk about a standard. You can talk about what you should be, shouldn't do, but then when they show you exactly the way it should be done, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Like I used to watch my dad. I had a choice in the morning. Was either we could run or we could swim. That was the choice.
Uh-huh.
That was before school, but it was because either he would swim with us or he would run with us, and that was it. His work ethic in terms of going to and from work, like he did it all the time, and then he would come home on the weekends and afternoons. When he got home, it was our time he'd spend with us kids, and on the weekends he would take us to and from sport which I'm sure he'd prefer just to sit in front of the couch and watch cricket. But that's fundamentally where my work ethic and my idea.
All I can remember.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue. It's not an issue. Whereas, like, bloody hell, you got up at 4:30. It's like, well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a big. Yeah, I guess it's. Someone was asking the other day, like, what do you, would it be nice? And I said, I've never started a job ever in my life where I got to start at 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I'd really like to know what that looks like. But if that was a choice, I'd probably still choose to get up at
came in today, 9 o'clock. They recognised him. He came in.
Whilst in.
Flip-flops on, smiling.
At 8:30.
Cappuccino in his hand.
Yeah, no cappuccino. It's a long black. Otherwise I get bloated. Yeah.
9 o'clock today. I saw you're not programmed at the moment.
I started at 9 o'clock today, but tomorrow I'm on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're still down. We're still in the Christmas post-Christmas period classes.
Yeah.
So I'm just I'm in my recovery mindfulness stage. It stops on Monday next week.
Yeah, that's it.
It's no more. Have you got anything?
No, it's really interesting to listen to so many. There's so many things exactly the same. So many characteristics, standards, processes. And I think one thing I've pulled from it, and I think about this vibe, but I carry on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you know when you're 100% confident in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Firstly, you can listen to other people and take it at the end of the year. You win the grand final, and that's there's no. I mean, for me, there's no better. People can buy in.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for other people to buy in. You don't listen to all the other shit that's going on around everywhere else because you just concentrate on you and your 25 players.
The noise bits. It's hard for people to do that. I think it's a really hard thing, and it's not because you 100% believe all the time.
Mm.
It's just that if you analyse enough, and if you go no. Like I remember Brian Smith saying to me once about if you get a fork in the road as a coach, you better make a decision and go down one of them. You better not be standing and looking and going, oh, which way should I go? In the end, if you're 80% sure, you better be 100% sure. And you've got to deliver it that way, and you've got to go after it.
Yeah.
And there's another one that says, look, if you listen to people too much, you'll be sitting with them not long.
Yeah.
And that's the But it's not easy. I remember, people think it's either black or white. I remember I was really confident when I walked in 2012 about the processes that I wanted to put in place and who I was. And I was nervous every day for about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Every single day. Because I was there going, okay, get this right. And that was the building blocks of the conscious thought, because I had to set, I was 35 and I had Sonny Bill Williams sort of walk in, and I had Anthony Minicello and all of these guys, and I was the head coach of the Sydney Roosters, and I was possibly ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't a lay down misère. Nick Politis took a punt on me, and it was a punt. He didn't know me that well, but he's instinctive. So I had to consciously make a decision how I was going to act and deliver every day.
Yeah.
And I masked part of how I was feeling. I was very confident, but I was very nervous. Not very nervous, but nervous on getting it right and delivering to the standard of that coach.
I guess it comes along with your experience in that position. You know, I was talking to Aiden about this the other day. We were talking about stress levels, and he was saying, I would have hated to done your job. It would have been so stressful. I'm like, there's nothing worse I could think about than walking into his job and looking at a spreadsheet that had billions of dollars written on it. That to me is stressful. And it's all relative, but you get more confident as the months and the years go on, because you've built up this, I guess, this buffer about now I know which road to choose, I know where to go. This 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I know this works. I guess, and you don't want an unemotional person, because they're very hard to trust. Fear is a good thing to have there.
And that's the thing is, people talk about, how do you deal with the stress? That's why I'm doing the job. I want that. That's why you get up in the morning. You enjoy pressure and stress. Everyone thinks they're negative words. Come on, give me. I mean, you guys know it in the physical aspect as well. I know the emotional aspect of that through work, but also, what does stress and pressure do to your body if it makes you bigger and stronger and faster and all of that? And it's the same. If you search for those moments and you go after them, and you're conscious about improving during those moments, you'll get better and better and better. And that's the early part. Now, I don't get nervous walking into training, but you've got to flip it to the other side of constantly going to go, come on, how am I going to get better here? How am I going to provide Mitchell Orbison with something brand new that he's going to see again and again and again?
Yeah.
You can't just go, okay, cool, I don't feel nervous anymore, I'm just going to relax. That's when for me, coaches do that. You would have seen generation coaches, anybody that sits in a period, but they can't adapt to the next one because they've adapted to one and then they're gone. So Wayne Bennett's a good example. Wayne, the A to Z of generations that he's coached, but that's because he's adapted to he's had his style, but he's been able to adapt to everyone. And then you have amazing coaches that were there between 95 and 2000. They were there for 5 years and then they were gone, and they were really good, but they couldn't evolve and adapt.
And I guess would you agree that certain coaches are good for periods of time in a club, and then it's time for them to move to different spots, or is that
I think there's certain styles of coaches that they have a certain template that is outstanding and rigid, and they should be there for a certain period of time and then move on and then do that again and repeat it. Because it's high quality. And then you'll get ones that can sustain. My belief is that's the mindset that I have to continue. So this will be my 7th season and I'm on for 10. Is I want to chase that continual evolution, but without going away from our principles. So and I think that's harder to do. So what the long term, so Alex Ferguson's a good example. There's a guy in Toulouse called Guy Noves, which was a French coach, was 25 years, most Heineken Cup wins over there, and that's hard. So to do that, but I do believe that some certain types of coaches need to know that they've got a template that works, but then they need to move on.
Well, I guess I enjoyed watching Eddie Jones with the Wallabies, and then this period of time with the Wallabies, and he went to Japan.
Yep.
And then England.
Yep.
It was quite interesting to watch just that flow and effect. It looked like he grew at the same time, but then also was a perfect coach for that period of time.
Yeah. Eddie's an incredible learning, evolving coach.
I like his quote he came up with. I think it was around the time he had with England, where he's like, I don't generally like people that much, but I'm a lot better at tolerating them now. I think Owen sent it to me. He said, "This guy's a good guy."
And again, I got to sort of hang out with him a couple of years ago, and he really helped trigger some things in me.
Yeah.
And he's got that type. I don't know him well, but they're a funny breed, those coaches.
Yeah. Mate, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I always get a lot out of talking to you, whether it's in the gym or especially here. It's been great. I really enjoyed watching last season. I thought it was brilliant. And I thought, and again, you're a lot like a lot of guys that we get to have in the gym, is that they're understated and humble, because you can sort of see outwardly last year how hard it was and how much, not necessarily much pressure you talking, but how much there was around it. And to watch you guys on that last game was awesome for me. It's great having you in the gym all the time. So thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, that's my release is coming in. It's just I say to people, if you want to see how hard they train at 98, you watch the people that walk out of there. Just don't be at the front when I'm walking out. That's everybody else. That's it's a good billboard every time someone walks in or out.
Yeah, it's always funny watching people cough and splutter and.
Not the ones in the middle of a workout.
No, it's at the end
there. The front.
That hour, that class coming on, just watching the next guys finish is always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always
no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cheers, well, it's been awesome.
Yeah. Guys, we'll be doing a podcast every 3 to 4 weeks as we find someone interesting enough to talk to. It won't necessarily be scheduled in too much. But you can go and hit us up online at 98gym.com. And then you can jump onto the online from there. We've got a knowledge section, a movement library, the daily programming, articles, nutrition, everything you want on that. So you can hit us up there. If you have any questions about today's session, Robert, what's your number? I'm joking.
My number?
No. Yeah, he was there. No, hit us up at either Kev at 98gym or Chris at 98gym.com. And we'll be able to answer your questions. Awesome.
Cool.